it's good to just kind of settle down and look at something, read something that's both inspiring and also as a reminder, and also as a reinforcement. Why do I say this? It's been a busy day. I finally got to be able to stop, and although this may not always seem like a relaxing thing to do, believe me, it's relaxing compared to what I've been doing for the rest of the day. It's pretty good. So what is it? Well, it's called Soul Work, SOULWORK, daily spiritual practice. First quote is from the famous Persian mystic Rumi. If you don't know about Rumi, R-U-M-I, look him up. Lots and lots of great poetry. And he gets very down to earth at times, actually. It's not all kind of up in the air stuff. He really gets nitty gritty at times. They become quite well known in the West. And there I go again. The West. Well, I have a problem with words like East and West. North and South are fine because in a planet that revolves around its North and South axis, North is towards the North Pole, South is toward the South Pole. But if you think about it logically, and I've said this a bunch of times, and some of you are probably fed up of hearing it, but everywhere is east of somewhere else, and everywhere is west of somewhere else. To say the Far East and the West, it's kind of wacky. It's just a construct that we've created. Kind of like giving names to generations. I mean, in reality, things flow, lives flow, and we come up with these arbitrary decisions. Oh, this is Gen X, and these are baby boomers, all right? And that was the greatest generation and so on. But really, there's no hard and fast lines between all these things. There are trends that happen in the world, but they're not stuck to hard and fast dates like we try and do. We often try and stick things in boxes. And one thing we shouldn't do with our spiritual practice is stick it in a box. Have good practices, yes, but don't be so inflexible that you're not open to new ideas. And this today is actually Mary Davis's idea of her spiritual practices and what she recommends. And it's not going to be the same for each of us. We all do things differently, and they're no better and they're no worse. And it depends on our spiritual experience, our religious background, our current religious and spiritual beliefs. It's different. Yesterday I mentioned that my wife and I attended this meditation class. It's a 6-week, 2-hour class, 2 hours for 6 weeks, every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Central Time. It's called Meditation for Self-Mastery. But it could really apply to anything. And they teach specific methods and how to do it, but you don't have to stick to them. They're suggestions, in my opinion, saying, oh, that's good. Yes, I like that. No, I don't really like that. So anyway, so take these readings as suggestions, not as commands. They're suggestions. And then think about it yourself. How does it apply in your life? Will this work for you? If you're a really busy mother and you're looking after kids, then if they're still not at school, then you've just got to fit things in when you can. So it's all very well and good saying, hey, this is how I start my day. This is how you should start your day. No, it's okay to say, this is how I start my day. But your day may start completely differently. And you probably don't have time to get up at 4 a.m. if you're a really busy person getting people off to work and to school, So we do these things when we can. So take these things as suggestions. And how do they fit into your life? Do they work for you? And if not, how could something slightly different work for you? That's my intro. A little while alone in your room will prove more valuable than anything else that can ever be given to you. And as I said, that was Rumi. Ernest Holmes says, it is to this center that we go in the silence of our own minds to commune daily with the spirit that is both around us and within us. And that's from 365, Science of Mind. And this is Mary Davis. She says, sacred silence is one of our most essential friends. Our communion with spirit, capitalized, illumines the peace and joy within, and it uncovers a pathway to the infinite wisdom that guides our way. This, quote, time alone in your room, unquote, for daily spiritual practice isn't your homework, it's soul's work. And it's the place where we find calm in the storms of life. Now, this is what she says. By carving out silent time each morning, we open a new space for inner peace and unconditional love, for faith and hope, for gratitude and joy. And best of all, it doesn't have to be complicated. We reap enormous benefits from a sincere commitment to a short daily session to nourish our souls. And she tells us about what she does. I've had a daily spiritual practice for the last, or more than 30 years. It's a fluid practice that changes with each season of life. I begin by waking with gratitude and an affirmative prayer, spiritual mind training, followed by inspirational reading, daybook reflections, mantra meditation, Kriya yoga, prayer, a gratitude practice, and a walk in nature. I'll come back to this. When approached with joy and curiosity, our daily spiritual practice can feel like a sacred recharging of our batteries. We're plugged in, supported, and ready to face the world. These morning moments infuse creative energy into the day, permeating everything that follows. We feel attuned to the wisdom, strength, and peace within. We notice the holy in the small and the sacred. We notice the holy in the small and the sacred in the everyday. Our connection to Source, capitalized, comes alive. Consider starting or recharging your daily spiritual practice. It will soften the rough edges of your world with an unshakable inner peace. Now, as I said, this is what she does. I don't make enough time first thing in the morning to do inspirational reading, daybook reflection, mantra meditation, Kriya yoga, prayer, a gratitude practice, and a walk in the park. That's not how I do things. But I don't think my practice is any less or any more than hers. Yes, I spend time pretty well every morning. There's usually one morning a week where I have to do my daily practice later because I don't want to get up at dark 30. But by and large, I begin my day with quiet time. And my wife knows that. I go into our guest room, and that's where I spend my quiet time, where I do my breathing, where I do my spiritual mind treatments, where I do meditation. It's just the way it is. But you can actually make a spiritual practice out of pretty well anything. How do you do that? Well, one thing that has not been given on the list, which is important, and it's probably easier for a lot of us, and that's mindfulness. Thich Nhat Hanh, the famous Buddhist monk who passed away, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, was the person who introduced the word mindfulness, I think, into the general vocabulary so that we all started using it. And as I've mentioned before, mindfulness is really, it's simple. It's not always easy, but it's simple. It simply means to be doing what you're doing while you're doing it. Now, if that seems wacky, when you eat a meal, and I'm guilty of not doing this sometimes, when you eat your meal, enjoy the meal, concentrate on the meal. Now, there's different ways of doing this. At lunchtime, usually every Thursday, we meet with a bunch of our Toastmaster friends. After our Toastmasters meeting, we go to a local restaurant and we have a good conversation. This is part of community. It's all part of spiritual practice when you do it with an open mind. So it's good, it's healthy, and we eat our meal while we talk. If you're on your own, then yeah, you've got more chance of just sitting there and concentrating on the food you're eating. But having a meal with other people, it's just as much a spiritual practice as anything. The whole thing boils down to one thing, and that's intention. What is your intention? Lots of people have plugged this throughout the millennia. Wayne Dyer plugged it a lot. Lots of spiritual leaders plug it a lot. So what are your intentions behind what you're doing? Do things with purpose, do things mindfully, and do things with right intention. That, or those in themselves, are spiritual practices. So don't think that you've got to become like a monk to do all this stuff. No, you don't. You just need to have a time where you can take a break from the world and just relax, be alone. Yes, do some deep breathing. This that we're doing now constitutes a spiritual practice. I've been reading out to you, and hopefully you've been listening to the wisdom of Mary Davis. You've been listening to my comments. And then your job is to make sense of all this. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with her? Do you agree with both of us? What would you do? So that's all I got for today, really. The affirmation is, my daily spiritual practice illuminates the ever-present peace and wisdom within me. So this implies that the peace and wisdom is already there. We just have to activate it, illuminate it. My daily spiritual practice illuminates the ever-present peace and wisdom within me right now. So Reverend Whistle will be on tomorrow morning, somewhere between 9 and 9:30. And I'll be back tomorrow evening about 5. I'm teaching a class at 6:30, so I should be able to do this. And I'm going to sneeze. Maybe I'm not going to sneeze. So before I sneeze, I'm just going to say, take care of yourselves. I'm grateful for the rain. Oh yeah, and every morning, just remember to do that one thing. Just think of one thing that you're grateful for every morning. Something a little bit different each day. So before you get up, just think, what am I grateful for this day or in the past 24 hours? So until next time, namaste.